Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Films, where me and my co-host talk films every Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern. I am joined by my co-host, Varangian Vigilante. What is going on, my brother?
Feeling well, having watched, of course, the 7 Golden Vampires again today. And what is that better? It's October. It's like we are less than 1 week away from Halloween and talk like a classic horror martial arts fusion by the Hammer Studios and the Shaw Brothers.
This was my first watch of this, and I'm not even sure if this movie was included in the Shaw Brothers collection because it's tied with Hammers. I need to check that out if this was included in that, because we all know the Shaw Brothers films, like a lot of the Shaw Brothers films were mainly Shaw Brothers, but this was one of those collaborations they did with the famous Hammer Studios, who was known for the movies with Christopher Lee and Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and horror films. So
yeah, I also think because the financing of the movies was like 50-50, so it's just gonna be interesting where the rights are. And I know sometimes it's, especially with older movies, it's very hard to even find out. But I also think that this was published by a company that didn't publish the other Hammer Studios, like in England. So this might be one of these odd situations, like where nobody knows who actually owns it. But that's just of course speculation from my side. However, very happy I got the Blu-ray from the UK. Fantastic quality. So at least somebody put a lot of love into to like remaster it. And it's just a movie that I also only have recently like watched for the first time. And being a big Peter Cushing fan, I'm very happy he's in it and he really elevates the movie, and I absolutely love this blend of like European lore and Chinese lore on the subject of vampires. What I do have to say is, reading about the movie, I think that it was more respected in Hong Kong and the Asian market than it was in England, sadly. Even I just think that the English maybe had like a very, critical view maybe on the Hong Kong cinema of that time, because one of my other favorite actors of all time, Christopher Lee, who is Dracula in my opinion, didn't want to do the movie because he thought the script is horrible, and he tried to talk Peter Cushing out of doing the movie. But since Cushing's wife sadly passed away a while ago before this movie, he said it doesn't matter the scripts, he wants just to be in a different place, he wants to change like the scenery to hope that that his mind gets like a fresh perspective. So he wanted to do a movie in China most and for all, just to get out of his like daily sorrow. And everybody that knows about Peter Cushing knew how much he loved his wife, and that when she passed away he never was the same. And Christopher Lee said he basically talked with him every day just to check on him, and that Peter knows that he's there for him. And the friendship that Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing had is probably one of the truest friendships in cinema history. And I hope wherever they are now that they're having a great time together.
When it comes to those guys, I always look at them as the trilogy, with throwing Vincent Price with him, and it's like the trilogy of horror masters.
Exactly.
And when you watch their stuff, they knew exactly how to captivate the audience with their style.
And I think they all have birthdays within 2 or 3 days. Yes,
their birthdays are so close to each other. So it's like they were made to be the trifecta of Dracula.
Absolutely. And so it's really sad that Christopher Lee fought the way he did on this movie, because I think that him playing Dracula would have added so much more to it. I mean, I still think that John Forbes Robertson, he did a good job.
Yeah.
But when you watch a Hammer movie and Dracula is not Christopher Lee, there's just something feels wrong. And I also think that if Christopher Lee would have done it, we would have seen him a lot more in this movie.
Yeah.
So especially since now that the Dracula takes like the form of the Chinese high priest. And we barely see him like we're seeing in the beginning, and we see Dracula like in the ending in his true form. So I thought if Christopher Lee would have played him, this would have been done differently.
I 100% agree, because I thought John Forbes Robertson did a good job with the screen time he had.
Yes.
Very, very little of Count Dracula, beginning and then when we get him at the end, it's like blink and you'll miss, and he's already done. I'm like,
and the ending was rushed.
Yeah, I will talk about the ending when we get to that point, because I have.
Also, hey, Kenneth.
What's up, Kenneth? No, I got the other tab up, but thanks for joining us. Always here. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. You know, Christopher Lee would have been a fantastic, Dracula in this setting. And I agree with Peter. It's a different setting, a different look at vampirism when you add in the Chinese lore. And the whole Hammer Studios Shaw Brothers connection, it could have led to something more fruitful.
Absolutely.
But because of production issues, problems on the set doing different languages, and the director is known. Who is it? Roy Ward Baker. He's one of the co-directors of the film.
Yeah.
He's known to say that the movie is terrible.
It is not terrible. Like, it's a great movie.
And when I read that, I was like, I enjoyed this film for what it is. Like, it's respectful to the source material of vampirism with Peter Cushing involved. It's respectful to the Chinese history, not only with Kung Fu, but the history of China in itself. And every character has a high class of respectability.
Yeah, exactly. It really baffles me, because I was thinking, with what expectation did the British side from Hammer go into this production? Because everybody except for Peter Cushing, who I just laughed at, also he's always very respectful. Like, everybody always with that they didn't honor like the vampirism. Like, there's more mythologies to vampirism. When you, like we also talked with the last time, like in Eastern Europe, that they suck like through something out of the mouth and not with the teeth. There's like vampiric myths all over the world, and to mix them together in one movie, I think was actually a fantastic idea, to introduce a different lore that also fits with the lore of Europe into it. So I just think that a lot of the British, the production, movie team and the actors, some of them, that they just could not get outside of their gothic horror mindset.
And I think that's what makes them look at, and let's not forget, the British are a bit snobbish. 100% snobbish. So also, of course, they're gonna take this and look at it and just brush it to the side, like, rubbish.
And also, like I always say, it's a small island, there's a small gene pole, so.
but like I said, from the beginning up until a point where I will talk about later on the ending, I thought the movie did a masterful job at not only introducing the characters, but introducing the threat. When we see Dracula at the beginning and how the high priest wanted his help, and I like that that was the only point in the movie where there was a language barrier, but yet Dracula understood him.
Of course, like it's like Dracula is like a supernatural being.
Yeah, like he's talking in his native language, and Dracula is like, yeah, I understand you. And at first he rejects the idea of it, and then he thinks about it and like, yeah, this could be something that I can do to take over.
And as we also, of course, know from Blackula, that Dracula knows like those around the world, and it probably, has a few hundred years to learn languages, and probably, at a certain point, what else is there to do? So I really think that he has like a knowledge, of course, of many languages. So I really like how they did it there. I also really loved how you can see the scenery, from the beginning of Transylvania to later the change to like China, and this is such, and they did just a blend so right, because you have your gothic horror in there, but you also have your martial arts in there, and more than that, what I love about this movie additionally, it also has this adventure vibe, especially
when... Yes, I was saying the same thing, like, adventure!
Yes, when Van Helsing, his son, and like the others like made out there to look for where this law of the 7 golden vampires like started, and where the 7th golden vampire found his ending, which we saw in this fantastic back scene like in the beginning, which I think it's such a fantastic like horror attention. When the farmer tries to save like his daughter, and then tries to save his life, and when he's gonna get hunted, this had like this really like wild hunt vibe, which I absolutely love. And I think it was very eerie. I absolutely love how they portrayed like the Chinese vampires with these eerie masks, skulls, and this teeth, like this very elongated teeth.
It's like they're already like decayed forms of vampires. And I love the scene of the dead rising from the grave. Like the skeletons on the faces of them. That was very eerie and just all types of horror. Love it. It reminds me when we talk Sugar Hill and the rising of them.
Yes.
And when we talk Zombie, the Fulci movie, and how they roll. I love when they have this atmospheric scene where you see the dead just slowly comes up.
There's just something magical in the art of portraying the dead rising from the grave.
That's the classic Winston line from Ghostbusters. Sadly, he will not be at the rescheduled Spooky Empire next weekend.
Oh, it sucks.
And then the next Spooky Empire is the same weekend as Heroes Con in North Carolina, which we already plan on going back to. I'm like, wow.
It truly sucks.
Life is not fair.
It isn't that good.
Damn that hurricane.
Well, what did Vince McMahon said? Life sucks, and then you die.
Back to the film, but I love the introducing of the vampires, the dead, and I like how he goes to save his daughter. Like, screw all the other girls. My daughter is the most important
exactly.
thing. And then when she gets freed, she gets shanked right off the bat. I'm like, damn. She didn't even get a chance to get away.
Also, what I also really love about this movie, and which I always love in occult scenes, sacrificial scenes, when you sacrifice women, you always show them bare-breasted. That's a horror rule, and this abides by this rule, and this I value very much.
I'm for them being tortured, man. Make sure they knew.
Yeah, they gotta be bare-breasted. Otherwise, the ritual won't function.
But yeah, and then he tries to escape. The dude who closed the door when he went in, he's like, he barricaded that door because I ain't trying to let them get in there. So his whole death scene was great, but he left the lasting impression because he put the golden vampire that he took from one of them onto the statue.
Yeah, they put a statue there, which of course that the 7th vampire tries to take, and that shouldn't touch something holy, and then we really see like how he decays, and love the scene, especially like the whole hunting scene with the slowed down riding with the camera. This reminded me so much of one of my favorite horror franchises, like the Blind Dead, like in Tombs of the Blind Dead. When the Undead Templars are riding on the horses. feels very similar here when they're charging the farmer and they're following horses, and some creatures hunting him by foot. This hunting scene was like so eerie in the best kind of way, and the coloring they used, like really Barbaresque, with this blue, green, red tones. It's just an artistic, vibrant, colorful aesthetic, and I just think this movie is not highly enough regarded for just this kind of awesomeness.
They even got the dead running like Chinese with the hops.
Yeah.
That made me chuckle a little bit, but I was like, it's kind of fit that
it does, because when you watch like the other Chinese vampire movies, like that are like purely Chinese, you always see like the vampires hopping. So of course, it might look silly if you don't know like culturally how this is portrayed, but I absolutely love it, and I also the movie did way better in Asia than it did in the UK and other international markets. So I just think like they were more open for this cultural blend than, of course, the British were. This is a movie that really should be rediscovered now and discussed maybe like in a more academic way than we do. Because I'm always a big fan of, crossing horror movies from different cultures, because then you truly get like a new perspective on something.
And this leads to probably the introduction to a character that I felt was important. And I'm going to talk a lot about it when we get to the ending. Hai Sing.
Oh, yeah. Like, I absolutely... Like, I really think, the heroic way he chose, like, in the end of the movie. I think this was one of the strongest scenes.
I thought it was a great scene knowing that he was bitten. But I hated the setup of it because, once again, the female that's in this film ruined it. Juliet played Vanessa.
Hot as fuck.
She's fine as hell, but she's worth nothing in the whole scheme of the battle. And I felt like, God, man, he should have saw that coming after she got attacked. And when he got bitten, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, but I still think that this was like a dramatic death scene that you wouldn't expect in a movie like this.
But it shouldn't exist, because I felt that he was so tied to the story, because the man who attacked to try to save his daughter in the backstory was his grandfather. So he had a huge stake.
Exactly, but as you know,
I felt like often his character, I felt cheated, because like he went to Van Helsing, Professor Van Helsing, for him after the lecture. Van Helsing is giving his lecture about vampirism and the possibilities of it being in China, and everybody in that class kind of blows him off like, oh, that's not
This is a scene I actually really enjoyed, because
me too. I was actually enjoying it.
But you also know why?
Why?
Because usually, like in Western movies, it's always like the educated Western people who are like not listening to the spiritual Eastern people. And here it was totally like a change, that Peter Cushing, like having the lecture in there, talking about vampirism and how it also exists in China, and that he knows it exists like in of course in Eastern Europe, and of course, and then you see all the educated Chinese students in there who are like these are fairy tales.
But I also like that they were paying attention and they were listening. They wasn't interrupting him during his storytelling, and they was giving him respect by listening to him before the whole thing was over, and then they started to question it. You know, I liked that shows respect. That shows like we're paying attention and we have questions, and while we don't believe it, we're not going to just brush you off while you're telling it.
Also, Sean, I have to mention something like outside of the movie talk. We are both honoring Frazetta Friday today with our t-shirts. Get all the Frazetta swag.
Yes. But man, I really, really enjoyed Peter Cushing talking.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when he talks, it's like I'm sitting there right there in class listening. And it's like, again, I'm with you. It was one of my favorite scenes. And it's nothing but exposition.
I know.
It's good exposition.
Exactly.
When it's coming from the great Peter Cushing.
It's just like a wonderful scene. And of course, I also really like the mixture of like having this adventure vibe, this research, the lore, looking for the place where everything took place, and then to have like all these martial art fights like drawn in. I love the way it takes place. You know, first of all, you have like this fight of the Tongs and the others like in the city, and then of course later you see like the vampires trying to like stop them. I especially love like the fight in the cave.
Yes, I love the cave scene.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the high scene.
Yes.
Because to me, it was so important for him to avenge things towards the end, because your whole family is involved in this. You know, your whole the place, the village that he wanted to save was tied to his family, his grandfather, and his people. So when he went to Van Helsing, he snuck into his place actually and say, I want you to help us because you are knowledgeable, you know a lot about this, so we can't go on to this mission and do it without you. And it felt so important to that character, you know, that I felt like he should have seen it all the way to the end. And while I liked it, Leland Van Helsing, the son of Professor Van Helsing, how I would have booked that ending, and here I'm saying book like I'm Vince Russo or something like that. I would have had High Scene survive the whole encounter with Vanessa. He stakes her. Then after the sister gets kidnapped, him and Leland chase off to the castle. He gets the final blow on the last golden vampire. Yeah. That way he gets the victory for his people, and that he saved his town. So at least it's a sense of pride for him to get that honor to defeat the final golden vampire and say my town is free. Yeah. And then after him, the sister and stuff walk away, then Dracula appears, the Battle of Van Helsing. And after a struggle between Van Helsing and Dracula, Leland comes in to check on his dad. They both fight Dracula. Dracula like puts Leland aside, and then while Leland and Van Helsing are together, Dracula's like, now I get to take out both of you and end the whole rivalry. And then they both grab a stick while Dracula's lunging, and they both stake him. And it would have been perfect because the Van Helsings together would have took out Dracula. And it
absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with that. Like, I still thought like that the death scene was very had a lot of gravitas to it, which of course I like. But I totally see maybe this also could have taken place like after he fulfilled his quest. So I totally agree with you that he helped Van Helsing finishing his quest, but he didn't finish the quest himself. And also basically you could have switched it. You also could have like make Quai like Leland's like love interest. And maybe Leland sacrificing himself at that place. Because let's face it, Leland Van Helsing was not a terrible, horrible character, but he didn't have a lot of things to do.
He was just there to fall in love with one of the women.
Yeah, and he's it's the only movie appearance of him as I think there's some stories that he marries like the My Queen or whatever, I forgot the name. Afterwards, and they have children. But
for me, it would have made sense for both him and his father to fight Dracula at the end. That way, you tie into the Van Helsing's rivalry with Dracula, and you give Hysing his finality of taking out the last golden vampire.
Yes,
so you get finality on both sides. But when Hysing died, I was like, because you don't get that finality for him. Because now, outside of his sister and two brothers, the rest of them are dead. And I did love that Hysing, after the cave attack, he started to question, like, man, my brothers cannot handle this. So doubt started to creep in on him. And it was Professor Van Helsing to say, no, we came this far. We can't back down now.
Yeah.
So I loved that sense of doubtness that he had, like, man, this is tougher than what we thought. So I needed to see him get that satisfaction conclusion to saying, to take out the last golden vampire to achieve victory for his family after the losses.
Totally agree with it. The way you booked it would have made the movie even better.
It would have made that ending not only feel much more epic, but it would have gave more gravitas to the characters.
Yeah.
I felt like after he died, and then we got that quick ass fight between Dracula and Van Helsing, I was like, that's it? And now, before Dracula appeared, I'm hitting my screen like, yo, how much time is left in this? Because there ain't much time left. I'm like, but everything before that, love. I even love the attack by the thugs before when they were on their mission. The first hiking, and the guy who was kind of set off by Leland when he took Vanessa out to say, yeah, I'll take her home. He took that to offense, and he sent his thugs to take them out. And you get to see straight on martial arts battle.
Yes, and those but I also very appreciate about this movie doesn't hold back. You see see very nice blood splatter all around, and the choice of weapons. You also love the one brother.
Yes, I love
2 axes.
Yeah, the 2 axes, the bow staff with the stick. I love that everybody have their own weapon when he explains his system.
The only thing missing was a flying guillotine.
Oh man, they have.
That was the only thing missing.
That would have set it on top. But you can't throw a flying guillotine when you're surrounded by fucking undead people. It's like, what are you gonna do? Have it on one dude and then you getting attacked by another.
But the weapons, the fight scenes, so well choreographed because it's a Shaw Brothers movie.
And that was a big contention with the Shaw Brothers. Like, they wasn't particularly a fan of Baker's directing on certain scenes, so they had to make sure they include their stuff to make sure it evens out. Because the Shaw Brothers, they're very, very strict on how things look. That's why it was co-directed. It had who was the other person? It was the Shaw Brothers side.
Ran May or what was it?
Shang She. Shang She. He was the second.
Chang. Yeah, Ran May I think was the producer.
But he was the second director, and the Shaw Brothers know if this gonna be a cooperative effort, they got to have somebody there for the martial arts.
Yeah,
and the stunts.
Considering all the chaos and set, the power struggle for the 2 studios. As we always know, we also with crossovers in comics. There's a lot of power struggles in there. I think it's a miracle that we have this.
It is. Because some co-productions work and then some goes south very quick.
Yes. And
considering that the British side hated this film, but the Chinese side loved this film, it just shows you that sometimes opposites don't attract.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you watch it, it has the best of two worlds in there.
I agree.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's always that the princess is snobbish.
Yeah, like she ain't that snobbish, but Vanessa, she felt worthless. She funded the whole thing, so she wanted to be a part of the adventure.
Yeah.
But man, after you see everybody, and I mean everybody, is fighting and holding their own, she's the weakest link out of all of them.
Blonde damsel in distress.
And Hai Sing falls for her.
Yeah. And I should say, even, like, basically, even as a vampire, she had, like, a very bad kill count. Like... But
the favorite part is the cave attack.
Yeah, the cave attack. I think it's the highlight of the movie.
That cave attack. First, you see the flying bats.
Bats, yes. And then suddenly, like, the vampires appear. And the makeup is just so good. And when they kill the one vampire, you really see how, like the face falls in itself.
I love that effect of them just, like, completely melting. And it's not even like 90s body melt and stuff. Like, no, it's like 70s body melt where their body just decays.
I'm so here for it.
Yeah. Like, yo, that shit looked really good for the 70s special effects.
And I still think, you basically can see what are masked. You can see the makeup, especially like in Blu-ray quality. But this doesn't take me out from a movie as much as CGI would, because it's graspable. And I think, when you see the makeup or when you see the things, I also think it still looks more realistic, because if a human or like a vampire would like decay after centuries, I think that's exactly how it would look like.
Now, another thing that I really enjoyed about the adventure is Hai Sing asking Van Helsing questions about how to deal with these vampires. Because you're going to head into vampire territory. You need somebody like Van Helsing to ask how to deal with it. And I like the differences on how they deal with the whole, how to deal with the cross and religion. On the Chinese side, it's the Buddha statue.
Yes.
You throw that in there, and it's the same effect, but it's different. It's not the cross; it's the Buddha statue.
Yeah, and this is like the thing, and I also think this is something. Don't want to shit again on the script writer of Blade. This is also the thing, when they basically discuss is like why they didn't use crosses. Because what happens with if a vampire had another religion before, I still believe that you can still make basically everything holy, doesn't matter from which culture.
Yeah.
Just work against something evil. And it shouldn't matter if it's like a cross or if it's a Buddha statue. Like the moment it is like a holy belief system that works against the dark forces, should be fine.
And the Buddha statue was in play the whole time because they always had to pray. Every scene, wherever they stop, they set it up, they get on their knees, and they pray. So it was a big part of their culture. That's why when you talk about the whole writer of Blade and stuff like that, every culture has their own religion, and regardless of what it is, it affects vampires.
Exactly. So I really like it. They did it there, and. But yeah, I think nowadays, I am not a religious person. I'm agnostic. I just believe what I can prove. So I still think nowadays that people just lack. I wouldn't say spirituality, but I think they just lack an understanding. Of what is holy and what is profane. There's hey, Big Remo, thanks for joining. So I just think that people nowadays have like a difficulty to just immerse into a movie. when there is like faith in it, and I think that's sad because it really robs people of better storytelling. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter what you believe. There's a lot of belief systems all around the world with hundreds, thousands of years of history. And when you have like a movie that deals with an ancient lore, with ancient evil, you just can't put like the belief systems like completely apart from it.
Yeah, I agree. I felt that this movie did a fantastic job.
Absolutely. And I still think that the movie who actually phrased it the best was actually From Dusk Till Dawn, when Seth Gecko basically said, you know what, if these fucking creatures are out there, like if this evil exists, then also something good must exist. So basically you do the holy water.
Yeah. But yeah, I really love how they used religion, kung fu, and the traits of a vampire, staking through the heart and all that stuff. While they were fighting, Van Helsing is yelling out things for them, even fire. And I love the fire effects in this. Like that burn them and they start the decay and burn. Like, it's awesome. And I love the setup at the end when they set up their little trenches and they put fire around it.
Like in the ruins, like the final fight, it's just such a fantastic setup. And this is also because like in lesser hands than the Shaw Brothers, you would have just have like different fights thrown in. But here, every fight is in a completely different scenery and tells like its own story.
And the cave fight was important because they was able to take out 3 more golden vampires. So you had the 7th was taken out years early. 3 was taken out in the cave. That left 3 more. So every fight mattered because now you're shrinking down the importance of their vampires.
Exactly.
So it's like, again, they didn't overdo it when it comes to the fights, but they made the fights matter.
Yeah,
and that's most important.
Yeah, and additionally, like between the fights, I just love the traveling. I just love the traveling and to see like the scenery there, like to see the landscapes of China. It's just so beautiful to see, especially like Peter Cushing, like in just this different set.
Like I said, I really, like from the first 10 minutes, I was hooked. The lecture he was giving, the characters coming together. Like I said, Vanessa is probably the weakest. I'm sorry, she was the weakest. The sister, like they had this whole thing.
She's the weakest, but she's the only other person built on the poster than Peter Cushing.
And she was basically a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Because it's like they built this relationship with her and Hai Shing. You had Leeward with his sister. And it's like, at least the sister could kick some ass.
Yeah. She's like, she was awesome.
I wouldn't mind a scene where Hai Shing is teaching her how to defend herself. Because you can't be in this situation. You can't fight this shit.
It's just you can just hunt down like 6 of the most powerful fucking vampires on this planet, and it's like, what is like?
See over there standing in the distance. Oh, and on top of that, their main goal is to snatch up women because during the horses and the village, they would snatch up all the women for the torture.
Yeah, it's basically you're bringing them like everything they need for a ritual.
Oh, look, a woman. We need to grab her. So if they would have had something where he's teaching her how to defend herself and she wasn't just standing there looking all dumbfounded, and actually, I would have respected the character more had she done some damage and still got caught and bit.
Yeah. Or at least if they have used her as bait.
But it's like she was just there to be pretty.
Yeah. And this is also why she's built on the movie poster.
I'm like, give me Hai Shing's sister because at least she can kick some ass.
Yeah.
Lee were looked at her first, Vanessa. And he like, I might get with her. But then as soon as he saw Hai Shing's sister, he like, she's better.
Yeah, he immediately got the yellow fever.
But like I said, Vanessa was the weakest of all. Yeah. And I felt like when she got bit, I'm like, you dumb broad. In my mind, that's what I'm saying. You dumb broad.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt so bad when Hai Shing got bitten and then sacrificed himself because he was such a vital character.
As you know, the moment we start thinking with our dicks, we're doomed.
That's the problem.
Yes, the problem. He wanted to stake, but he got staked instead.
He staked himself because he knew it was over. He knew it was over. And I was like, damn, we got robbed of vindication for him and his family because the fight at the end was fantastic. I love that we finally see what he doubted early on when he's like, man, my brothers cannot tank this no more. And now they started to fall.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the stakes you put yourself up to when you're going against vampires. You're not going to come out alive.
Exactly. You know, this is also what I really like. Like I say, they were always like, no pun intended, the stakes were very high.
The stakes is high.
Yeah, so basically you knew like not everybody's gonna make it home. And like I said, I also think that it would be better if he would have sacrificed himself like after he fulfilled his quest. That he see, okay, fuck, I got bitten, and then honorfully like ended himself.
Yeah, if he would have gotten bitten by the last golden vampire and still was able to take it out, I would have respected that more than what he did.
Or still, if they would have just like put the scene later that she got bitten and then he hugs her like in victory and then fuck.
But man, I was to use the term flabbergasted when he got bit because I was like, that just threw me off. And then, like I said, the final battle between the reveal of Dracula. We don't see him until the very end in his final form, after the beginning. And then he launches himself at Van Helsing, and he gets staked immediately. I'm like, that's it? He pops up, right? He's like, Van Helsing, this fight has gone long enough. Yeah. But yet the fight goes shorter than the fight itself.
The promo was longer than the fight.
The promo was longer than the fight, and Dracula's death was longer than the fight.
Because the promo was so cool, I absolutely laughed at Dracula. It's like even like here on the other part of the world, it's you, Van Helsing.
It was so good. It's like this is what we've been waiting for, and the fight is just within seconds over. And then Dracula starts to melt, and that took 5 minutes.
Yeah, the melting was really well done of Dracula. But it's like I said, the melting was longer than the fight itself. It really felt like.
And like you said, if it was Christopher Lee, it would have been a lot more bigger.
Yeah, because Christopher Lee would have said like, no, we're gonna do this differently.
Yeah, and I felt bad for the guy who played Dracula because I thought he did a good job with the screen time he had. He didn't really get a chance to really like sink his teeth into what he could have done. Literally.
Yeah. But and John Forbes, like Robertson he's a good actor. Like he was also like in Life Force, which Lucas Space Vampires, which is also a fantastic movie. We gotta talk in the future.
Yes, that's another. See, the 70s and 80s had the best films.
Yeah.
I would say, but the 80s came up with all the creativity.
And Space Vampires is a better Vampirella movie than the actual Vampirella movie.
But overall, this movie was fun. Yes. Like you said, when they started that adventure, my hands clapped like, "What's up, Jacob?" My hands clapping, and it's like, man, I love adventure films. It really takes me back to a time where adventure films was played a lot on TV. When we talk the Sinbad films
Yeah.
or Jason and the Argonauts and stuff, it's like those were great times being young watching these
Yeah,
adventure
and it
films.
really felt like that especially like every Sunday, that they were all adventure films. I just recently rewatched The Journey to the Center of the Earth. Uh, it's just so good.
And even with this being semi horror because of vampirism, it still felt like a fun adventure with all these great characters and the great Peter Cushing. And it, like I said, the ending underwhelmed me, but I will watch this movie again because
Yes.
it captivated me. The story was great. The meshing of the universe between vampirism, Eastern European, and then the Chinese culture, it worked so well. And it's like I would have loved. And they said they was planning a sequel to this.
Yeah, and it would have been awesome too. It's really sad that like all the stuff behind the scenes really killed the corporation. Um, because I think there would have been so much more to do, and there's a reason why everybody on the world loves like Hong Kong movies, loves martial arts movies, and I also think did the marketing it maybe wrong, and sometimes it's also when you don't have a trust in your own movie. Like we already talked in the pre-show, with the recent, not now the recent because it's a new one, but the one for a few years ago, the Helper movie, when suddenly like a lot of people involved didn't had any like their own film. You know, it's like, hey, when not even the people involved like it, why should we like it? And of course, back in the day, people probably didn't have so much so much chances to get this sort of information. But also, with the studios, when you don't believe in something, you put a little less money in the marketing, and then you also don't know like how to market this movie. Uh, when you look at the movie, because even when you look at the movie poster, I think the moment like I saw this, I was like, I gotta watch it. Like you have Peter Cushing there, you have like awesome like action, different vampires, you get boobies, which is always good. It's
The cover is awesome.
It's an awesome cover, and
I like there was an alternate image because the one I watched on YouTube, which is a high quality film, I'm thinking is straight from that Blu-ray rip.
Probably,
it was uploaded like last year. But I liked the background to that, of the video I watched, the thumbnail that he used.
I gotta look at that one. But yeah, it's this movie should have done better. If I would have been around like in the 70s, I would have gone to the fucking cinema. But you can bet your ass.
But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the film, but I would have booked a different ending.
Yeah, but also like you said, this is like a mainstay in rewatching like horror movies, and that's the good thing is like this goes like when you have like a whole week of watching martial arts movies, you can put that in to mix it up.
That movie will break up the monotony of the same style of martial arts.
Yes, exactly.
Now you get to see something different. When they fighting vampire horror monsters.
Actually, when you really look at it, it has like a little vibe, or could also play perfectly like in other like similar movies. For example, like one of my favorite trilogies ever, like in Chinese movies, is of course the Chinese Ghost Story, which we also have to talk. Maybe also next Halloween we gotta talk like the Chinese.
More Chinese films got to be discussed.
Yes.
But I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and like I said, I will watch it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Despite my feelings on the ending, which the movie as a whole still captivated me, and then like, man, I want more. I want more.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, it's like what makes the movie rewatchable. for me is the mood it puts me in when I watch it. And watching this makes me want to watch more movies like in a similar vein. And it's just like it really like, after this is like a let's Google about Chinese vampire lore. Like
like I said, I love that. I love when you watch a film and the first thing you want to do is go to Google and research. Even go back to go learn about Transylvania itself. And the gothic vibe that had.
And it's it's also so crazy because we in the year 2024. When was this?
74.
Now this Blu-ray this Blu-ray came out like last year. Before this came out, I think you just had like a VHS to go to. Like, there's still so many treasures out there that were released in the 70s, 80s, 60s, even 50s.
So many.
That didn't even have a Blu-ray release or never got a DVD release. So there's still so many treasures out there. And that's what I always say when... now we're getting better movies again. I think it's slowly shifting. Because studios need money, so actually they need to make good movies for people to go in. But I always say, when you don't like modern cinema, and there's still, even if modern film is good, I'm not so much a fan of like the aesthetics that are around these days. That I always say, what? Just by discovering movies from the past, that's enough for a lifetime. Because there's still so much out there that I at this point don't even know exist until I see like a release on Blu-ray that is somewhere like up for pre-order. It's like, wow, that premise is so good, I gotta watch it. I don't know this movie. And then there's actors in there that I absolutely love. There's tons of Peter Cushing movies that I haven't watched yet because there is no proper way to watch them.
Yeah. It's not good when you got to go through YouTube to watch people take rips from certain things to watch.
Yes, especially when they're like
that was like
rips.
That was the problem when we did the whole Isaac Hayes thing. When we did Three Tough Guys, and I watched that YouTube video. It was horrible because the movie was so dark and it never got remastered. And while the movie is average at best, I would have preferred if we watched the quality version of it.
Exactly, and it's sad, that a lot of classics that we don't have anything better out there than like VHS that already have deteriorated over time. So it's the thing that makes me the saddest is it's because I also really love movies from the 20s, over 100 years ago. And when you sometimes when I look through what movies were done like when there still was an Austrian monarchy around in the 10s, when I was like, oh, this movie looks so cool. This movie was lost.
And that's sad.
And then it's sad when you see like a lot of movies out there from the early time of cinema that are just lost in time. So it's always so fantastic nowadays. Which even like with more popular movies, I think also like with Nosferatu and other stuff.
I was just thinking Nosferatu.
When you just discover like in an old collection suddenly we got this like a film version with more scenes in there, so we can get closer to how it was like originally seen in cinemas. It's just like. That's like the big shout out to the Murnau Stiftung, who does a fantastic job in restoring like movies from that time period, from the 10s, 20s. It's like I say, we could be like, if they discover anything like putting our brains in robots, we could be still here 200 years from now and talking about movies from the 50s, 60s, 40s, 20s, 30s.
But that's the beauty of doing this show. Because without you, I would have never heard about this film. And when I watched it, I was like, man, this is fantastic. And I love this. And we both put game on when it comes to movies we never heard of. Like, of course, we could talk about films that we all know and love, and we have endearing hearts towards it. but then it's the movies that either I don't know or you don't know.
Yes.
That makes it worthwhile. And like
Exactly.
I said, when we talk the 5 heartbeats, your first time watching, and as soon as you said this movie needed an extra 20, 30 minutes, he got it. But that's always how I felt about it. So I love these type of discussions on movies that
exactly
discover.
And I still did prove something what I always argued against the mainstream in the last years, where I always say that you don't need to change anything for modern sensibilities. A good movie is a good movie no matter when it came out. Like a good movie like The 5 Heartbeats will be a good movie 100 years from now. It doesn't matter how society changes. Like when something is captivating, when something tells a good story, when you have good acting in it, then it will pass the test of time. Like on the other hand, when you have a movie and you just put in what you can at a certain point of time because everything else is like taboo, etc., you get a very safe movie that is gonna be forgotten in a heartbeat. Yeah.
And again, it's like it goes back to even when we talk a movie you despise or you hate it, like Scarface with Al Pacino. Watching the original Scarface is like, I kind of like this version of Scarface a bit more because he as a character, he felt better compared to Al Pacino's Scarface. So I love seeing the original versions of films, and it's like you compare to the modern version, it's like the original one has a bit more aesthetic to it. That it's much more better.
And even though I personally dislike Scarface with every fiber of my body, it's not a safe movie. It's a truly like an artistic vision of the director, and hence it will live on in cinema history forever.
Yeah. So again, the beauty of doing this show, fantastic discoveries of movies we both never watched, and then movies that you introduced to me and I introduced to you, and we both have a fantastic time discussing it.
Exactly. And with some movies, they just get more real over time. Also in the past, of course, when we talked Demolition Man, which very much like was a prophetic movie, and sadly next week we're gonna talk about another movie that probably comes true even before the prediction, like in this movie.
And I will say this: after this film, we will talk some more Mike Judge films because Beavis and Butthead Do America.
I love Beavis and Butthead Do America. I watched it in cinema, and it's Beavis and Butthead is the stuff we grew up with, and Beavis and Butthead Do America was
classic.
Masturbation. I'm the crack on Julio. I dig for my bunghole.
Mike Judge films get better after each rewatch. Office Space is another one that I love.
Although I go serious, I also totally love, of course, King of the Hill is.
Oh man,
that's a classic.
Mike Judge stuff was fantastic, and they get better upon each rewatch.
Yeah, and of course, like we chose this movie because I think it's the 1st November.
It's the 5th. November 5th is election day for us.
Yeah, and in America's election day, and I have no horse in the race as European.
No.
Like
we're just here to talk a good movie.
Yeah,
and a movie not only that has a president, President Camacho, who I am voting for,
Terry Crews.
But it also speaks to how people of today's society is today.
Yeah.
The low intelligence, ridiculousness. Oh, yeah, Tales from the Bus. That's another one. Mike Judge, especially when he talked about the music industry. Fantastic.
I haven't seen it, but I'm going to open to watch it.
Hey, if you watch it, you gotta watch the Prince versus Rick James story. If you thought the Dave Chappelle stuff was funny, That one was just as good, and I loved that. But the Tales from the Bus was fantastic.
Gotta watch it one. Gotta sit on my couch with my boots on and.
And you learn new insight in the music industry in terms of that. So.
Boy.
But yeah, Idiocracy fits into today's narrative of how people are just stupid today.
And whoever listens to this at this point, my goal for next week when we talk Idiocracy is, doesn't matter who you vote for, I want you to be fucking offended watching our stream.
Because one thing about today, people are so easily offended to the point they go straight to social media and start typing up in caps everything. And I'm like, soon as you start leaving comments like that, I already know where your allegiances lie.
Yeah, and probably the message we have so often is, doesn't matter what you believe in, doesn't matter what your virtues are, just don't be fucking sheep. Think for yourself, like.
But yeah, great discussion, man.
Absolutely.
Discussion. I'm looking.
And of course, and the aftermath of last week, where at the end of the show, Sean bullied me into buying all the Hellboy.
Matter of fact. Hold on. You gotta show each book. Man.
First of all, I think in the US it's even cheaper. You can get this for $60-something on Amazon. Loved it. Of course, there might be a lot of artwork. Loved that it has this really nice box. Makes it way nicer to put it on the shelves. Yeah, the Omni-Bee itself, they feel very flimsy.
That's Dark Horse for you.
That's Dark Horse. So I hope they survive the reading, but we're gonna see. Was it the Seed of Destruction?
Now, I will say about Seed of Destruction, I like it, but John Byrne's writing style has not aged too well for me.
Yeah. Then Strange Places. Then the one that I already read some of the single issues because it's my favorite story of Hellboy is The Wild Hunt. Which is also why I love the last Hellboy movie so much, because
they took a lot from that book.
Yes, and this is my favorite.
If they would have just focused specifically on that,
yes,
the movie would have been way better.
Even better. And of course, last but not least, Hellboy in Hell, or how I called it after Sean made me buy it, My Wallet in Hell.
But man, like I said, the Hellboy universe by Mignola is amazing. Yeah. You know, and then once you get into the BPRD stuff, your wallet will be completely right.
No, for me, it was no, hey,
trust me though. Trust me, when you get through with those, the BPRD stuff are great companion stories, and it expands. The Abe Sapien stories. I read some single issues. I'm gonna fuck your wallet up.
Yeah, I'm gonna read some single issues. I always bought the Christmas specials, especially with Krampus, because I always loved that lore. But don't make me have a fucking Hellboy show. I mean, I have a Grünen action figure, naturally, in uniform.
I would love to get a Hellboy action figure or statue, because Hellboy has become one of my favorites. Ever since the Perlman movies, I've been diving into Hellboy, and I'll tell you, it was worth it. It was worth it.
And what I just found out this weekend, I already said it in the pre-show, but the Crooked Man didn't even get a cinematic release, and is already out here in December.
It's crazy.
I had no idea this movie was already done.
It's crazy.
And it's getting straight to in England. It's gonna get straight to Blu-ray. So I already pre-ordered from there. Here, on the movie side, I'm writing for sporadically. It's not even listed. The movie isn't even listed.
That shows you how they treated Hellboy. They didn't even give it no type of release. Because I've heard of it, but I ain't never seen the release of it.
Yeah, it was really yesterday, because for me, also like a ritual is always to look what is up for pre-order. So especially with some special editions, so you don't find out when it's already sold out. Then it's like, Helper the Crooked Man is up for pre-order. This thing didn't even come out in cinemas yet. It's like already on the 9th of December. Immediately special edition pre-order.
And before we get off, I will say I've talked with VV backstage. I'm gonna get him to send me at least 5 old videos from his channel that we cover for horror, and I'm gonna upload them on my channel leading up to Halloween. And I want that Halloween day. I want to upload the John Carpenter special that we did.
Yeah, remind me tomorrow again because it's it's 11 p.m. here and my brain is asleep.
I will definitely remind you, but I want to do that just to get through the Halloween week and upload our horror films.
Oh, my favorite week. So much looking forward to next week.
Yes.
First day Halloween, and then the day after Idiocracy.
It's weird, but at the same time, it feels right.
It feels right. It's
But thanks everybody that showed up in the chat. Big Remo, shout out to you, brother. Jacob, Kenneth Bird, great to see these guys in the chat.
Love you.
Great discussion, and we'll be back next week to talk how stupid people are and idiocracy.
Yeah.
Later, y'all.